Welcome to the Beauties podcast, where we talk about everything you need to know about women's sports. From the grassroots to the pros, we got it all. Today on the show, we talk about England's Euro 2022 win, WNBA clinch spots, and a Commonwealth Games update. Here are your hosts, Addie and Cowie.
Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody had a great long weekend. We are excited to have you here at the Beauties Sports Desk, feeling relaxed, feeling like I had a couple of beverages over the long weekend. How was your long weekend, Cowie?
Yeah, I need a rest from my long weekend. I need a weekend from my weekend.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's always good to extend it. Sometimes, long weekends are, it's a double-edged sword because you think, why can't every work week be 4 days?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Good to be back.
That's right. I went to everybody's, preferred destination along a long weekend. I went to northern Saskatchewan. Mm-hmm. A lot of people I hear say that that's where they like to spend their free time, is in the most northern point of Saskatchewan. And I'm going to be real. A lot of people are probably being like, that's no good. It is beautiful up there.
Yeah, I have some colleagues we have business in Saskatoon, and they have cottages north of Saskatoon, and they say the same thing.
Yeah, it is.
It's a wonderful place to go. It's also a wonderful place to get off the grid for a bit. Turn the phone off, turn it into a camera, and don't worry about anything else.
Yeah, agreed. I was pleasantly surprised. My sister has a cabin up there, and I was like, what are you doing?
Yep.
And then I got there and I was like, I get it. Understand. Great decision. So
then your next question is, why do you live so far from this wonderful place?
So very far, with a nice 1 hour gravel road to just finish it all off.
Oh, gravel speaks to my soul a little. Nice,
I guess country.
Touch. Yeah.
A little country.
Yeah, it's like now
city.
We're getting somewhere. We drive all that way and then you hit gravel and you're like, oh, okay.
Oh, here's the good stuff.
Somewhere.
Us city folk are like, what?
Less excited about gravel?
Yeah, more potholes. I'm swerving.
Potholes and washboard.
Swerving all over the place.
You're not napping through that.
No chance. So there's been so much in the women's sports world over the last, honestly, week, that it's, when we were writing our notes, it's honestly hard to even comprehend how much has been happening. There's sponsorship deals that are falling in the NWSL. We've got the WNBA clinching spots. We've got Brooke Henderson getting 1 million bones. It's Commonwealth Games happening. There's so much stuff happening in the women's sports world. But we did do an episode last week that struck a lot of emotion, which is great. And we're all about that. And so we did add a little piece there to that episode. But the one thing that we wanted to touch on before we even get into this episode is the conversation of perception and the conversation of what that truly means when it comes to the perception of where female athletics is now, where and how it is supported, and, talk about the perception and how people are using it to benefit within the female sports world.
Yeah. So we encourage you. This is episode 37. If you have not listened to episode 36, go and do that. We talked about our experience at the War for the Roses tournament in the West Edmonton Mall a couple of weeks ago, and we got some feedback. So we had talked about this 33-year standing tournament, and it is called the Brick Invitational. It's a not-for-profit. It's got a great organizing committee. It is the standard in which, quite honestly, every hockey tournament should be held to. They do an exceptional job. And we talked about our experience at the War for the Roses last week with the purpose of shining the light on the fact that the girls got less than the Brick Invitational. And not to compare it to or make the assumption, but probably sounded that way. And quite honestly, the perception that exists in the world, them being back-to-back, and the organizers of the War for the Roses also organizing a brick series that leads up to the War for the Roses, was that they were linked. And so they offered clarity to us. They're in no way associated. But the message that we want to give today is that perception is dangerous. And the perception of the War for the Roses was that it was the female brick. And what I think we need to do today is challenge the people who organize the War for the Roses to hold themselves to the standard that the organizers of the Brick Invitational hold themselves, and create a tournament that is as prestigious, that their kids feel like absolute rock stars. All of those players, coaches, anyone who is a part of the Brick Invitational, that's the standard at which the War for the Roses needs to set for themselves. And we are looking for and hoping for and working towards a female tournament that is held to that degree that the Brick Invitational holds theirs.
And to just say it one more time, when we got to see what the Brick Invitational offered its athletes.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
And so our thought and the perception that we had that there was in some way, shape, an affiliation there, because that is what has been perceived out into the world. And then to see that being taken away for the girls was where the emotions started.
Yep.
And the parents talking, oh, well, my girl finally gets to be a part of the female brick. And that is the perception, is that you are going to the War of the Roses because it is the female brick, and that you are going to get that same incredible experience that you do when you go to the Brick Invitational. Yep. And so that is the thing we wanted to just get out there into the world, because, you know, talking point blank, it was, I perceived it to be that.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't help.
I finally got to feel that feeling of being such a, advocate for female athletes, and oh my gosh, the girls finally get a brick.
Yeah.
And that's the perception that was not only said numerous times over and over and over and over again, it was like what everybody was talking about there. Yep. So yeah.
I do think, that 100%, it was the perception. Families were talking about it, organizers, all of these things, that it was, it was presented as the girls' brick. And so it doesn't help that the organizers of the War for the Roses, or the Rose Series, also have the Brick Series, like I mentioned, these lead-up tournaments. And so using the same name, the Brick Series, which is very much associated with the Rose Series, leading into the Brick Invitational, an entirely separate entity that does it right. And then hosting a girls tournament hours after the group that does it right, and I've been doing it right for 33 years, does, and then doing it half standard of that, it's really hard to overcome what that perception is. And so I guess that's the second tier of challenge, is that our challenge is to that Rose Series next year, do it right, and ask the the Brick Invitational for their notes, because they do it right. And for the Brick Invitational, the perception does exist that you are tied, you are affiliated to the Brick Series, therefore the Rose Series, therefore the War of the Roses. Appreciate the feedback that you are not. But I think there is work to do to separate yourselves from them, or to hold them to a standard that fits what you put out every year.
Yeah, because it's absolutely incredible. So we just wanted to touch base on that real quick, because that is the perception. And it's the Brick Invitational is the standard. And we can leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because my gosh, it is. There's no other way of saying it.
Yeah, agreed.
It is. So,
and I think the last thing before we jump out of this and jump into sports is that I think we said it in episode 1 through 7, because we were on a roll of really hounding what we were doing.
Yeah.
And what we kept saying, what we continue to say now, is that we will have hard conversations, and we will stand behind them, and we will admit our faults, and we will address them with full transparency in the name of moving equity in sports forward. And so if there are further conversations that need to be had about this, if you have more information, if you want to join us on a podcast and talk about it, great. If in the future we say something and you're like, not so sure, also bring that up. That's what this is about. We know we're not perfect. We're not pretending we are.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that's what the whole thing is about. Let's talk about it.
And
Let's
make it better.
And make it better.
That's right.
Because all the girls playing hockey, playing every single sport, deserve the same. Yeah. So let's get on the show. Like, I love that call to action. If there's something that we say that you don't like, shoot us a DM. We've got SpeakPipe where you can shoot us a voicemail. There's a lot of different ways to get in touch with us, and we are so open to it.
Yeah.
We love it. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's talk and let's move the needle in the right direction.
Yeah. And then my last note on that is we had a ton of feedback on that episode from parents on both sides of the borders who've experienced different scenarios, some very localized, some at spring tournaments, some through winter, some through different sports, not hockey specifically. I appreciate that too. That is super helpful. And hopefully you feel connected. We'll continue to reach out to you when you do reach out to us to make sure that you know you're heard and that we do see those messages. But we love when you connect with us. And that's what we're working to do, is make sure that those stories, you don't have to email us.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That it's just
kosher because it's all
just
good. Everyone's getting what they deserve.
That's right. So, and it's tough to argue the fact that people aren't as interested in women's sports as men's sports when you have an England versus Germany final where there's 87,192 people in attendance.
What was the best transition you've ever had?
Come on. Let's go.
I love that. Yeah, that was all over Instagram. If you don't have Instagram, you're missing out for one. If you do, if you didn't see that, then I don't know what you follow, because that has been everywhere. The Euro Championship between England and Germany had, yes, like you say, 87,192 fans. And the top three attended games in European football were all women's games. You got them written down. Barcelona versus Wolfsburg, 91,648. Barcelona versus Real Madrid, 91,553. Those are big numbers that are hard to argue that women sports is not something you want to watch.
Like, could you, and I think about this too, because one of the coolest things with England playing Germany, right? Like, you would assume that, you know, the big names like Barcelona, Real Madrid, like, England is a huge soccer country. Germany kind of, you know, that was nice to see them in the final as well too. But England hasn't won, I'm pretty sure, for men or women.
Yeah, that's correct. Men or women.
Since 1966.
Yeah, and it was a men's championship in 1966.
Was it? Yeah. So it's like that. Well, it shut down the streets.
Oh, and yeah, that was the I think it was on the front page of like every major newspaper. And we saw things on social media of, you know, like, enjoy your free, like you mentioned, your free beers, your free burgers everywhere you go, because you are now in the history books in that country and far beyond for scoring that goal. What was her name? Chloe Kelly?
Oh, we should look that up, because that was like my favorite tweets of all time that were coming out about her being like, have fun never buying a beer the rest of your life. Have fun never like having trouble getting into a bar in England ever again. You literally are a hero. Like,
literally are a hero.
And
Chloe Kelly,
beauty.
Yeah, and there was a photo Brandi Chastain put on Twitter. I see you, Chloe Kelly. Well done. Enjoy the free rounds of pints and dinners for the rest of your life from all of England. Cheers. Because she did the sports bra celly, which Brandi Chastain also did in like the 90s.
Yeah.
Remember Mia Hamm did the sliding one with the, and, you know, anyways.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, she did tarps off doing the whoop as she ran around the field, making it a 2-1 game.
That's got to be like a stamp of approval for a soccer player.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
That is like, You know it's a big goal when you rip the tarp off and go
for a jog. I only ran for 87 minutes. Let's go for a quick rip. Woo! Yeah, agreed.
That is amazing. So the numbers of people in attendance, if we're talking about a standard that's being set in anything, like, man, oh man.
Yeah, so I also saw a statistic that kind of goes along with this, that the most viewed European football game this year, 17.4 million viewers, was that game. Men's or women's. I'll find that for you too.
17.4
million. Yeah, where did I see that?
That's a lot of people watching soccer.
Most watched women's. Oh, let me correct myself. Yesterday's Women's Euro 2022 final was one for the record books. According to BBC Sports, the Lioness Triumph was also the most watched television program in the UK so far in 2022. 17.4 million viewers. That's
unbelievable. That's a lot of people watching some women's soccer.
Yeah. For context, that's half of Canada.
Yeah.
50%.
Quick fun fact.
Yeah, quick fun fact. Half of Canada watched that final in terms of numbers.
Yeah. So like, and I wonder what's gonna go on between the two leagues, because Euro leagues
they're hard to follow because there's so many teams.
There's so many teams. They're so big. And there's so really like top teams. Like I was mentioning before, like Barcelona, Chelsea, Real Madrid, those big teams, a lot of attention goes towards them, but there's so many teams. It's crazy. But then you hear things like that many people, like 87,000 watching that game. And then you go over to the NWSL and then, one of their major sponsors pull out, and then they're having to announce that they might be out a bit of money because of this major sponsor. Like, it's like, what? And then you have record attendances at Angel City games because every celebrity is going to them. Like, it's so wild to me.
So the NWSL one, so this cryptocurrency company was one of the, investors. And which I found this funny when I read it. They were due to pay the league in cash. And it's like, that goes against everything that is crypto.
That is anti-crypto of you.
Yeah. And then the second portion was supposed to go to athletes themselves to invest in crypto on their platform. And now they've filed bankruptcy. So it just seemed a bit like, that doesn't equate in my head. Crypto paying you in cash. Anyways, regardless, sad to see what we had hoped or what they had hoped, I'm sure would be reputable businesses to support the league falling through.
Yeah, so definitely interesting times in women's soccer, but like from an outsider perspective, like that's just one sponsor out of the thousands, but that's a big statement to say after all the things that have happened in women's soccer over the last little bit, like with them winning the lawsuit, getting USA women's and men's on equal paying scale, that amount of people in attendance, like there's so many incredible things. And then due to a crypto bankruptcy, it's going to affect their wages. Like I don't know. Yeah. It's crazy, but it's absolutely wild.
Crypto's hard to understand on a good day.
Yeah. So that's something I stay away from for sure. But even heading into the final of the NWSL, we are now also getting into the playoff spots for the WNBA, which is a very fun time of the year because obviously Chicago Sky is always clinching a spot right around the beginning.
The always. Of always. Of course, the Chicago Sky is capturing a playoff spot.
Even though, Vegas took them in the Commissioner Cup.
I know, right?
It was tight. It was a tight game. Yeah. And Vegas is just like what Becky Hammond,
I was just going to say that,
has done in that organization in one year, not even half a year.
It's culture. Like we've talked about 100% so many culture places, and we see the inverse of that in the WNBA too, in leagues or in teams that are lacking in that culture, but she has been able to instantaneously build a culture in that organization that has led them to this.
And like, it looks like they're just having the absolute time of their lives doing it. Like, what is that game? Like, we should do that game where they like put water in their mouths and they tortilla slap.
Oh, I did that with my 7-year-old niece this weekend.
Come on. Yeah. She won. Did she win?
Yeah, she won because she yelled at me because I slapped her too hard. It's hard to know.
How could you possibly know what a tortilla is going to feel like slapped across your face?
We did that. And then everyone got involved. Anyways, we should try that. But yes.
We should do that because they were doing that. Like, that's where I saw it, I think, was the Aces doing it before a practice or something. I don't know. They just look like they're having the absolute best time of their lives. They're playing incredible basketball. Chelsea Gray is like...
Oh, yeah. Did she...
behind the back off the baseline? Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, no. What the heck is her teammate's name that went on and she was like, let's just set it straight. Chelsea Gray is the best point guard in the league.
Plum.
Yeah, that's right. Kelsey Plum. Let's just set it straight. She's the starting point guard on the Olympic team or the national team, And it's like hard to argue because there was stuff floating around. Would you rather have the ball in Candace Parker's hands or Chelsea Gray's hands? On Instagram.
Yeah.
You can make arguments on both sides of that, but she's clutch. Like, she puts teams on her back. She has a record that supports that she is the best.
Yeah. And that one play that she does, she's under the bucket on the line. She's just eyes are peeled all the way over to the right and then sees her pass go in front of her, keeps her eyes locked to the right, behind her back, dishes it. Clear pass right into her hands for an easy layup. Like, she makes it look effortless.
Literally. Effortless.
Makes it look absolutely effortless. And then as the recipient of the ball you're like, well, that was just phenomenal.
How did that
just ended up in my hands? What just happened here? So 5 teams have clinched playoff spots heading into playoffs. Chicago Sky, the Aces, Seattle Storm, Connecticut Sun, and the Washington Mystics. And then even going off the attendance, what we were just talking about in soccer, the Storm and the Mystics sold out arenas when they play against each other. Yeah. They were just I think it was back-to-back games in the Mystics.
It was.
And it was sold out both games. Yeah. Both games sold out. Like, things are happening, people. Like,
and stuff you can't argue with.
Yeah, things that you just cannot dispute anymore.
Sold out stadiums, no.
That's and let's get real. Everybody knows Sue Bird is on a. Could you imagine being Sue Bird on this tour right now? And same with Sylvia Fowles, but there seems to be so much focus on Sue.
And a part of that, I think, too, is her tie to Megan Rapinoe, right? Because they're together. And she's so active and vocal and in public that I think that's part of it.
Right.
But I do agree that there is a lot. But also, Sue Bird by nature is more outgoing, it seems.
Yeah.
Than Sylvia Fowles.
Yeah, that's true. And they're getting all the Sylvia Fowles. Like, you can't say one way or the other. She is getting an incredible
farewell to her.
And it'll be cool to see if maybe they meet up in the
That would be cool.
That would be fantastic.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, because the Dallas Wings and the Phoenix Mercury are both tied at 13 wins. So they'll get playoff spots for sure, but the Lynx got to figure it out. But if Seattle continues to stay in the spot that they are, there is a possibility that they would meet up in the the playoffs. And that would be
fun.
That would be so sick. But yeah, fine. If anytime that you hear about sold out stadiums, Climate Change Arena in Seattle has been selling out like crazy and it's so exciting to watch.
Oh, yeah. I think it's funny. We haven't been doing this that long. First episode was November 30th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And don't you feel like even in that amount of time? And I think that's going to be one of the fun parts of the podcast as it goes on, to look back. But I feel like in that amount of time, since November 30th, when we hit record the first time, to now, there is a lot. And, maybe it's that we talk about it every week, so you feel like there is, I don't know. And we're always looking for positives too, on what we can highlight and prove and show, and let's celebrate those wins and things like that. But it feels like the momentum continues on a weekly basis as we go.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Fun to watch.
It is. It is fun to watch. And it's fun to watch different headlines too, because one of the things that people like about competitive sports and is also the lifestyle that goes along with it. Like people like sports because the athleticism, but people also like the atmosphere, they like the energy, but they also like learning about the players. We've talked a lot about that. Like we need to do a better job of showcasing prospects coming up so that you can get to know them and identify with them. And there's one woman in the WNBA that has no lack of news following her, which is Liz Camby. And this is one of the funniest headlines I think I've ever read in my whole life. Yeah. Liz Camby divorces the LA Sparks. Yep. And they've just come to an agreement mid-season after she made that huge deal.
I know. It doesn't. Yeah. That's when we wish you were behind the closed door.
And so she makes that big transition from LA or from Vegas, to LA. And now she's divorcing her contract. I died when I read that. But yeah, so it looks like Camby is no longer with the Sparks.
Oh, yeah. Who knows what? I do think that also sometimes speaks to the passion of women at that level playing the sport. Is that I think sometimes we miss that genuine, like, I'm not loving it, so I'm getting out. Because there's so much money in male sports that you just stick it out.
You just stay.
Think, I'm walking away from this $8 or $48 or $108 million contract?
Yeah.
Heck no.
That was like,
I'm walking away from these 200 G's? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not that good, and I'm going to go and find a place that I'm happy, or this didn't work out and it's time to move on. But in male sports, who's going to walk away from millions?
That's I had a conversation with a guy in the Chell once, and he was a third goalie, and he was making 1.5 mil being a third. He's like, I put on a suit
in the press box. 1 point.
And and it's like, there's a lot of people that would do a lot to get to sit in that chair.
Yeah.
And so
their hope is to not be the third string.
Well, obviously, right? But it's like a nice little second.
You could go and actually play the game you love, but you're going to take the money.
Yeah, that's right.
With the hope and a prayer that you become not the third string.
That's right. And it's, I wouldn't be complaining. No chance. So it'll be interesting to see where she ends up, if she is deciding that this is the curtain call on her WNBA career, or if she is working behind the scenes to engage with another team, because at the end of the day, she can play.
Oh yeah, she can play.
Like at the end of the day, she is like.
You want to know where she's not going to want to go? Russia.
Oh yeah. I don't think too many women are going to be flying over to Russia these days.
No.
And obviously there's been a bit of, more positive news towards Brittney Griner. And this is something that we haven't really spoke on too much about, because it's serious. It's a lot. It's a lot, but it looks like there is a deal to get her back to the USA. As of right now, I don't know the ins and outs of the deal or whatever's happening, but it looks like there is a deal being made to do a prisoner swap to get her back into the US, which is positive.
And wild, but positive. She's been there for too long.
She's been there for far too long. And that picture of her sitting in that cell holding up that picture of everybody wearing her number, I'm like, lights out for me. I was bawling, because it's like, could you imagine? You have no communication with your family and you get one picture, and people haven't forgotten about you, because that's probably how she feels, like so isolated, so everything being there. And then you get one picture and it's of the All-Star game in the WNBA and everybody is wearing a 42.
Yeah.
That must have just been like.
Yeah. You got Megan Rapinoe going to the White House with your initials stitched into her collar. And everyone, that whole, you know what, that's one thing, the WNBA, but then also the NWSL and a lot of these, like, let's just call it professional women's sports in general, have banded together for that same message, which is needed. Shouldn't be as needed, I don't think, in the fact that it just seems like 180 plus days in a prison in Russia.
Yeah, crazy.
Too long. So you're right. Good news. Hopefully that good news continues and she gets back on home soil soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and I do think that also the NBA put her BG 42 on the court.
Yeah, that's right. And the NBA players have also been rocking shirts and things and continuing that message, which that's just, we've talked about that unique relationship between those two leagues.
Oh, huge. Yeah. Like even with the sold out stadium with Seattle and the Mystics, Kyle Lowry's there. Yeah. Courtside. Yeah. And, you know, Stewie's going up and saying hi and, you know, Cloud's going over and saying hi. Like, it is a very respected tie there. Yeah. That's huge. So it's crazy. It's crazy. So we hope that she is back in the USA ASAP Rocky.
Yeah. Yep. Not wrong.
You know what's cool? The Commonwealth Games is happening right now.
Yeah, that is cool. So we have a couple of past guests. One in Holly Naughton. Squash, which, you know, I love. Holly made the semifinals, which play tomorrow at 4 p.m. So if you're listening to this, if it's in your ears before then, you can tune in the CBC Sports app and check out Holly. She made it to the semis, the first Canadian ever to make the semifinals in squash. So go, Holly. Congratulations so far. We're rooting for you. And then we have Liz Gleedle, the javelin thrower that we had on the podcast a couple weeks ago. She went to Eugene, Oregon for the World Championships and got 9th, which was her best finish ever. She's supposed to be heading over to the Commonwealth Games. I saw on her Instagram that she caught the dreaded pandemic bug. And so sending her our love and hopefully that she can get that kicked and get over there. But Canada has been on fire, especially today. Monday of August long, 15 medals today alone.
Canada has been lighting it up. Like because Holly, when we were lucky enough to meet her, she was in Egypt. This woman has been flying around the world, competing everywhere. And we now get to sit back and watch her go through her career and identify. And I think that's one of the things we really need to do is showcase these athletes, because for her to become the first Canadian ever to make it to a semifinal, the Commonwealth Games, that's huge.
Huge.
That is amazing. So Canada has been absolutely insane. And then we can't not talk about the summer or the Commonwealth Games without talking about Summer MacIntosh. Oh,
I know. She's 15. She's a swimmer. So if you haven't been following the Commonwealth Games, she's a swimmer. And so I was saying to Addie before we hit record today that I think she was like a lap ahead of everybody. She set a Commonwealth Games record. I think she just got her second gold medal at the Commonwealth Games. She is the next, we talked, you think back to past Olympics, Penny Alexiak was that name that everyone knew. Now it seems like, not that Penny is not a force to be reckoned with either, but we've got this new 15-year-old phenom in Summer MacIntosh who's lighting it up. Yeah, 33 medals so far. Everything from, I believe it was, I saw even a judo medal. So if you don't have, or if you haven't already, like I say, you can watch the Commonwealth Games through the CBC Sports app. It ends August 8th. So by the time this hits your ears, you still have 6 days to tune in to the Commonwealth Games. Do that.
Yeah, it is just phenomenal. And it's a really cool way to showcase a lot of sports that don't get enough attention. Yep. And this is the athleticism is insane. And Summer MacIntosh is a name that you are going to want to remember.
Oh, baby, yeah. Big
You
time.
are going to want to remember and be
time.
Canadian swimmer. That is unbelievable.
I think I saw that Canada had 82 medals in 2018. Let me quickly look. But 33, I would say that we're on a good pace here. Yeah, I might not find it that fast.
Yeah, but
Either way.
we're definitely on a good pace.
Yeah.
that is
And I
for
can't
sure.
wait to watch. I put it on Holly's Instagram. I can't wait to watch her in the semis. I hope she goes and kicks some butt.
I hope she just crushes it.
Right?
And like all the videos of all like the opening ceremonies and
Also, did you see the atmosphere around squash? It was like the lights were down and the court looked
like it was
unreal.
like a blue undertone or something. Like it was so
looking.
cool. And like the atmosphere was insane. It's
The
it is
opening
worth your time.
ceremonies looked cool.
Yeah, it is worth your time. The Commonwealth Games, huge.
All the things you find on Instagram once in your day, and then it's like, where did that go?
I know the amount of information you can consume in a day is ridiculous.
Also, I love Instagram because I don't have to read the whole news article for the 3 lines that I really want to
Yeah,
know about.
that's true.
Super
That's
good,
true.
digestible.
We also had another huge win for a Canadian, Brookie Hendo.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to transition to her when you were talking about people not being mad about a paycheck.
Oh,
But, here it comes. We're going to slide in now with, you know who's not mad about the paycheck? Brookie Hendo. Million bones.
Brooke Henderson wins the Avion Championships.
Yeah.
And just crushes it. 17 under, walks away with $1 million.
Yeah, her second major championship. She was like calm, collected Brooke Henderson in that final round.
Yeah.
Because they were tied through, I can't remember how many holes, but a good chunk of the holes. And then she just like, nope, I'm taking it.
Yeah, it's time.
Yeah.
And we did say, like, we follow Brooke, we've been saying for a long time, because Korda went on a little tear there. Jin Young Ko went on a little tear there. And then it's like, Brookie's going to find her time this year because she was always in the top 6, top 7. And then she fell off a little bit there. But it's like, you could tell there was something different about this one. And there was. She just won it. 17 under. She went.
It is nice to see Nelly Korda back.
Yeah.
After all that. Because that's scary. Blood clots is scary, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so, but she'd never know. You'd never even know she was gone.
No, she's just swinging, doing her thing.
I know.
Crazy.
Make it look so easy.
I know. And then another big piece of Canadian news. We're like really pro Canada today.
Well, we live here.
Yeah.
And it's easier to find U.S. news, quite honestly, than it is even Canadian news.
Yeah. No, that's fair. We've got to give our Canadians some love for sure.
Talking about Montreal.
I am going to talk about Montreal. The PHF announces that they have added a franchise in Montreal.
Yeah. They've already signed 7 or 6?
7.
7.
It's
all
like
the Quebec girls.
All the Quebec girls. They were like, "Hey, you guys want to? You want to play? Yep. Okay. Here's the team." And it looks right off the bat here like they're going to be pretty damn good.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
The other, so the PHF, if you don't follow the PHF on Instagram, man, we're just like Instagram ads today.
Yeah, no kidding. We're just like,
you should just look at my Instagram because I follow all these things.
all of the things.
No, the PHF. So they put out these bar graphs, and at the bottom of the bar graph has the team logos. The fact that Montreal just got added to the league.
Yeah.
And Boston hasn't signed a single player. Defending champions, not one player signed to date, is like, what's going on in Boston?
Yeah. Well, there's got to be something going on behind the scenes. And if I were to guess, I would assume with them signing 7 right off the bat that there's going to be a huge jump in signings in Boston, because you can't let players like that just sit.
Well, you'd assume. But also, what have you been doing? Like,
what's going on? Yeah.
I threw out, and this is like not fact at all. This is just me. I was like, maybe this whole rumbling of the PWHPA, maybe there's like a Boston tie to it.
Oh.
That is literally just Cowie brain. That is not anything.
That is
but
just
I'm like, it seems sus that they haven't signed not one.
Yeah, I would assume, my gut would say that because the Montreal franchise has now jumped in, that they would now jump and sign a bunch of players in Boston.
Yeah,
big time.
Could be right. Oh, PHF Montreal. They already have an Instagram with 908 followers.
And the Montreal logo, I'm waiting to see, because right now it's just a modified version of the PHF logo. So it's like that PHF with the 3 stars on it, and Montreal with the 3 stars on it. So I'm wondering if that is going to, if that's going to change.
For sure, that'll change.
So.
For sure. Look at that. I lied. 8.
Oh, see?
It's there.
They
came alive. Boston
came
has
alive.
8 signed.
8, and I bet, what is it? What, Montreal 7?
Yeah.
So so they were like, whoa, got to lock up a bunch of players before. Yeah. Now you got another team to.
Toronto has 13. Montreal has 7. The Whitecaps have 13. The Riveters have 16. Connecticut has 12. The Beauts have 18. And Boston has 8.
The Beauts have 18. They're almost done.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Allie Thunstrom.
Oh yeah.
To the Boston Pride. Flanagan.
Yeah, Flanagan was a big one.
Yep. Anyways.
You wouldn't give up Flanagan. That's what I mean. Like, they probably were like, whoa, we better get all these girls signed and then obviously in works with and talks with other ones as of right now. Brand is there again. So yeah, they've got, and Grant Mentis going to Buffalo. I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see how that transitions into their organization, because she was such a big piece of Toronto.
Yeah.
She was such a huge piece of Toronto. So Toronto's going to look different for sure. The Metropolitan Riveters have brought in a new coach with Ben Lahovey. So that'll be interesting to see that dynamic change there as well. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of moving parts in the PHF this year. And I'm excited to see, like, we talked a lot about the PHF and,
we're still curious. Like,
and it's still super
Hockey
curious.
Still, like, what are we doing here? But
yeah,
I think we're August 1 today.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff's going to start to unfold here. If there's, if there are plans, hockey seasons start, let's call it October 1, but you're in training camps are in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so if there is news, I assume that we're going to hear it in pretty short order. And so as soon as we hear that, we'll talk about it.
Absolutely. It'll be fun. I'm excited to see how hockey from a professional female perspective looks this upcoming season, because you got the PHF that's got their agenda and what they're going to be doing. Mm-hmm. Then you got that mini series. I don't want to call it a mini series, a mini season of the PWHPA, as well as that Quebec League that was started.
League. I think that was just a summer league.
That was just a summer league, but and then also now Sweden allowing full hitting.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about that.
It is going to be quite the year for women's hockey, because it's going to showcase a lot of different things, and every single side seems to be very optimistic and excited about the future. So I'm excited for the future too.
Agreed. That Sweden hockey conversation triggered my memory of Reader saying she's going to provincials, I believe, this upcoming weekend. If we're wrong, we're wrong. But either way, Reader, good luck.
Good luck, Erica Reader.
Cheering for you.
Pumped for her. So yeah, like that was a snippet of the week, and
it feels good. We haven't talked about sports. We've had a lot of
guests
and other topics and things. So it's nice to just chat.
Yeah, chat sports and to see all the positive things that are going on right now. And I would encourage everybody to really dial in for, the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. And then everything going on right now with the WNBA, it is fantastic. And as well as looking into everything that we talked about with soccer, it is growing. It is incredible to watch. It is phenomenal athleticism. Look into it. It's fun.
Like, I mean, we never talked about even Canada losing to the US 1-0.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
There's been a lot of soccer, right? There's been a ton of soccer that's happening, and you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not following along with that. So
yeah. And following along with that, but also following along with us.
Not wrong. Not wrong.
Yeah. And we try to say it off the top of the show too, but if you do not follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, please follow, like, subscribe. It goes a long way.
Yeah, I think that's, and the last thing we got to say is back to our plea for you. If you're liking the show, make sure to leave a review. I'm going to say 5 stars only.
5 stars.
If you don't like it, it's okay. Don't leave a review. It's all good. No, just kidding. But that is a really good way for us to continue to get this message and this podcast out into the world. So the more you can interact with it by rate, review through our Instagram, reach out. That is what this is all about, continuing to push the needle. So in a true Beauties fashion, Cowie, final words. There has never been, we've said it on episodes before, never been a better time to be a women's sports fan. The proof is in the numbers. We talked about it today. So for all of you listening, make sure you tune in to local sports or women's sports that are accessible to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming back. Like Addie said, find us on Instagram and TikTok at Beauty Sports Talk, on Twitter at _Beauty Sports. You can find our voicemail at speakpipe.com/beautysports. Addie, my friend, I'm glad you're back from Northern Saskatchewan. It was a slice. We'll see you next week. Thank you all, and we will see you next week.